So, an introduction to the Alexandrians. In the early church, perhaps the most representative local theological tradition is that of Alexandria. The place represented the melting pot of cultures, religions, philosophies, constituting in itself a strange phenomenon. Obviously, many other cities, centers were Hellenized, but in Alexandria, Hellenism was brought to its maximum closeness to the Jewish tradition and the ancient Egyptian tradition. Perhaps the best illustrations of these cultural interactions are represented by the elaboration of the Septuagint and the occurrence of the first synthesis, or philosophical synthesis if you want, of Hellenism and Judaism with Philo the Alexandrian. He attempted a synthesis between the Platonic tradition, he was a Platonist, and the Jewish mystical tradition. And he represents what modern scholarship knows as the medieval Platonic philosophy, Middle Platonic. And apparently he's the first author outside, strictly speaking, the confines of Hellenism, he was a Jew a bit, to use the term logos and to apply this term to God, the God of the Bible. From Philo, for instance, the Joannian tradition has borrowed the identification of the second person of the Trinity. Philo marked deeply the Alexandrian milieu, both by his philosophical speculations, more precisely his emanationist system, and his hermeneutics to solve the riddle. And he invented this emanationist system. I don't know if he's an innovator or he simply adopted a scheme existing elsewhere to this Platonic issue, but definitely Philo was the first Platonist to manage to bridge the gap between the two realities, that of the spirit, pure spirit, and that of the pure matter. And by this scale of emanations, he managed to present a coherent system that keeps together or unifies spirit and matter. To some extent, this kind of thinking can be seen as the origin of many Gnostic systems, indeed. We mentioned them earlier. Definitely this is the starting point of Plotinus's own elaborations on the emanations, because Plotinus sort of went far beyond Philo with the elaboration of of series of emanations. Both achievements, his philosophical system and his hermeneutics, have influenced pagan and Christian intellectuals alike.
Pagan and
and Christian intellectuals alike. In fact, the metaphysical and the hermeneutical systems elaborated by him were deeply interconnected. For instance, in his physique, or natural contemplation, Philo depicted a contemplative journey from the realm of the visible towards that of the invisible, that was realized through successive leaps from the inferior to the superior realms. Likewise, this hermeneutical method recommended the passage from the grammatical and historical dimension of the texts to the inner or transcendent message, spiritual or mystical in nature. The vehicle of this passage was, for him, allegoria.